Joy Baker is an inspiration, even a martyr. She was the first to do battle with the authorities over her right to educate her 7 children. To her, it wasn't an act of defiance, just the natural way to bring up her own family in her own way.
I had been brought up in a society where it was quite permissible to keep a child at home, and it never really occurred to me that anything would happen. We just didn't intend to send our children to school. And I believed, and I still believe, that the main part of early education, certainly a child acquires in the home, in the course of growing up, and it doesn't need to be put into a school to learn it. And, well, of course, at that point, the authorities found out what was happening and started attacking me. And from that point on, it was a matter of fighting to keep the children at home.
It was an unlikely setting for a confrontation which upset the educational apple cart. Mrs. Baker lived in an idyllic part of Norfolk. She was determined that her children should not suffer the unhappiness that she had had at school.
We lived really as perhaps they lived 100 years ago, I suppose. I put the clock back. And in the course of doing the things which ordinary adult people do every day, they asked questions, they found things out, and they learned.
One of the things they learnt was how to cope with investigative television reporters.
These children, the youngest of a family of 7, have never been to school. And if their mother wins a legal battle that is just beginning, Hugh 10, Martin 9, and April 8 will never go to school. Why do you refuse to send your children to school, Mrs. Baker?
I was at school for 8 years, and I was thoroughly unhappy every moment of the time. And as I grew older, I realized that I had learned absolutely nothing of any value at school. I had, in fact, been done a great deal of damage.
Well, now, there is another aspect of school which many people place great importance on, and that is the kind of education a child gets by mixing with other children, by learning how to get on with other people.
Yes, I had that. I learned to be so frightened of people that I couldn't walk into a room with anybody else in it. I learned to hate every person I met because I had been so very unhappy among people. I think that's absolute nonsense.
The vehemence with which she fought for the right to teach her children made her for a time notorious.
I only intended to bring up my own children in their own home in my own way, and I had no idea that I should become a national figure for doing it, but it wasn't really my fault. I mean, if you attack any mother with young, you will get the sort of response they got from me.
Joy Baker's children, their cats and their avant-garde education became local celebrities and a legal cause celeb. There were fierce battles with the county educators, first in Norfolk and then in Suffolk. She was sentenced to prison. Her children were taken from her and put into care. In the end, the Lord Chief Justice declared that she was providing them with an adequate education. She'd won. At 69, Mrs. Baker is no longer the scourge of County Hall. Her children have grown up and left home. She has 12 cats and as many grandchildren. Life is a lot quieter now.
I feel rather like the song about the Victorian fallen woman, you know. Oh no, we never mention her. I did something unforgivable, you see. I won. And that they will never want brought out into the open again. Because there was no question about it. I broke all the rules. I defied every authority. And I won.